How's it, guys? You guys are joining us at the end of a session. We're going to do a little session recap. Alex came over for some family responsibility and a small little flick, and we ended up by the dam.
As per the normal, right? Whenever we come back home, we're always going to get a session in. As you all know, it's coming to Easter time, and I always enjoy coming back to spend some time with family and friends, but we're always going to get some time. And this aligned with the full moon phase. But yeah, we come into the end of a session which not quite what we wanted, right?
There was a lot of fish in the bank. I mean, there's a group of us, myself, you, Adrian, Jules, Rahul. We're all fishing from swim 17 up to 23. It's more than 15 fish out, but unfortunately no real big ones. Some beautiful fish, that beautiful mirror that you had. But yeah, no, we're gonna have to try it again another time.
No, definitely. I think, you come to Donaldson and you always want to get into the better fish, right? And as we've always said, these fish are big for a reason. They're clever, they've seen it all, and ultimately there has been a lot of pressure over the last couple of weeks. And I think that is a big part of this. But you know what, we've caught some good fish. Like you say, not the big monsters that we're after, but sometimes luck's on your side, and unfortunately it wasn't this time.
And we basically went with similar approaches. We arrived, we scanned the lake with a fish finder, we took the prodding sticks, we found nice, perfect bottom areas to place our baits on. We fished bottom baits, pop-ups. So it's not due to a lack of not enough effort. We definitely did the effort. All of us put effort in, got the lines out every single time. Maybe do you want to talk us through the rig presentation that you fished?
Definitely. So I think one of the key points that you mentioned was obviously the feature finding. We did find some grass, and I think any little bit of structure that you can find to your advantage will make a big difference. And I think that's, even though the fishing has been tough, those little extra efforts that you put in do result in a few fish on the bank. So basically what we were doing is we were fishing kind of hard salty areas just in front of the grass patches, and like you said, we kind of went in with the bottom bait approach, little snowmen, but I also did go in with my favorite stiff hinge rig, and kind of how we went in the session: 10-15 boilies over the top, one scoop of Super R mix, which is a particle mix for those that don't know, and yeah, it seemed to get some fish on the bank. And even though the fishing was tough, I think, like you say, the effort we put in resulted in those extra bites.
And then, now do you want to tell me why fishing the stiff hinge? Obviously, put us in perspective to, obviously not South African fishing, but where you're coming from, the lake you're fishing there, the success you've had there due to the approach that you're fishing. Just to give people an idea that it's not only this dam where it works, and there's a reason why you're fishing.
100%. So, if you go back in history when the stiff hinge came about, it was always known as a big carp rig, right?
That single out the bigger fish.
Single out the bigger fish, and that's the type of angling I thoroughly enjoy. I'm not the type that wants to get into big hits of fish, although at times that is fun, but ultimately you want to get into the bigger fish, and I always want to give myself that opportunity to get into the bigger fish. And I think your conventional spinner rigs are used a lot nowadays. Their presentation is a lot lower to the deck, where the stiff hinge is a little bit higher up, and it's a confidence thing. Spread of boilies in an area, and you've got a stiff hinge in the middle of there, and basically what you want to trigger is a carp coming down and feeding confidently, picking up one boilie at a time, and then when they hone in on that stiff hinge, they're going to get hooked every single time. And it's like I say, it's just a confidence boost on my end. I know I'm going to be presented all the time. Fishing in weed, fishing in silt, you're going to be presented. So, like I say, the biggest thing for me is that confidence element to it.
And you've now obviously told us about the story that you're targeting there, and the approach. I mean, you're telling us that you're burrowing around, you're finding fish, you're just putting, you're throwing a bait on top of your heads, and that's where the fish comes in.
Exactly, because like you said, you're chasing the fish. So at Walthamstow, it's an extremely busy venue. If you go back in history, this is where the likes of Porter first started, right? Danny Fairbrass was selling leads there. So there's a lot of history, there's a lot of attention attention on that venue, and you're fishing with some of the best anglers in the UK, right? You know, and those fish have seen it all, and ultimately you've got to be 2 steps ahead of them all the time. So typical approach: get to the lake. Hopefully we'll have a screamer now. But you get to the lake and you've got to find the fish. And once you find the fish, you've got to kind of make sure that you're going to be presented and giving yourself the best opportunity. And that's why I've always said, you know, a little stiff hinge over the top just gives you that extra chance of getting that fish on the bank.
Okay, and bait-wise, obviously you brought over some sal.
Yeah.
You do well at home.
Yeah.
You fished it now, you got some fish, you know, great results. The other guys all fishing with ridge baits. There's a test bait out, he's coconut, and he has the oceanic krill. Fish were, you know, passing it through in the sling, you can see it. Brilliant bait. It's been, you know, fed here in the numbers. It's definitely going to be probably one of the key baits at Donny's this year, and obviously for as long as it goes in here. And these guys are putting a shitload of effort in. It's ridiculous. The amount of baits, so I don't even know how much kilos. Jules, how much kilos you guys put in already?
This weekend?
No, in roughly for the year.
Oh, about a ton.
So about a ton of bait's gone in already.
In the last year.
The quality of the fish is amazing. The clarity of the water, the naturals, the kerper, the daffodil.
Yeah.
Hey, compared to when you were the last time,
100%.
it's lakes like alive again.
I mean, when we last fished this last year, September, so pre-spawn, and the water wasn't this clear. We didn't see all the little silverfish and kerper, you know, close in. The grass. I mean, these are elements that show Donaldson Bottom Lake is doing well. You know, it's thriving. And like you say, if a good quality bait is constantly being put in, the fish get in tune with it, and as you can see, the fish we're catching, they're healthy, they plump. I mean, especially for this time of year, right? We come into the back end of summer here in South Africa, and the fish are healthy. They're filled up with weight, which is really good to see.
So then another thing, just to bring it back, we obviously spoke about the grass out in front of us. So the approach is we're finding the grass, we're prodding just in front of the grass, putting a bait there, feeding there. We're coming back about halfway, we're dropping a back lead, we're coming back to the bank, tethering our line down, putting another back lead on to make sure our lines are pinned to the deck, because there's a lot of activity, a lot of fish moving up and down. And we're getting a lot of liners and stuff. That's probably what's happening now, all the coots on me. But we're putting that braid down to the bottom of the lake, because this lake has got like a sediment in it that will show you your braid doesn't sink properly if you don't get your braid down to the bottom. And obviously you don't want to hook. When you get a fish, you don't want to catch a line. When you go to the boat, you don't want to get in the propeller and make all unnecessary disturbance.
And I think it's also, as you say, is, you know, as you say, most of the fish come at night here, right?
So far that's been about the pattern. Sorry, you say?
Most of the time we're catching fish at night, so when we're going back out, or you know, having to redrop lines at night, the last thing you want to be doing is catching your other lines, and we're fishing braid straight through. That's an absolute nightmare to try and untangle from the propeller, right? So it's just making sure that we're constantly fishing to the, you know, lines are on the deck. We don't want the fish to get in contact with our lines. We want to be as, you know, as discreet as possible, and you know, little beds of bait, and hopefully, you know, they come in confidently and feed and come up. That's the main goal here.
And then I think also last week, that like the answers, we just to kind of get a feel for the dam, set up the fish finder. I did manage to land a beautiful 35 pounder. It was amazing fish. I'm sure that contributed to the session. Definitely. Obviously, you know, like I said, full moon, pressures were perfect, but the fish just weren't having it. But yeah, definitely until next time, a nice, beautiful session coming, probably end of the year again. Hopefully pre-spawn if possible.
Yeah, I know that's always the goal, right? To try and plan it in such a way that you can tick off some good quality time with the family, and also get some time on the bank when the stars align. But we'll definitely be back at the back end of this year. I'm obviously going back to the UK now. It's prime time. We're going into spring, so I've got a few targets that I'm hoping to
big
achieve.
Iconic fish.
Yeah, some real iconic English fish, and hopefully you'll be getting some pictures at some point this spring with some of those captures. But yeah, like I say, always amazing coming here. Donaldson has got a very special place in all of our hearts because we've put a lot of time and effort here over the years, and it's rewarded us. So yeah, may Donnies last a very long time.
That's it. Over and out.